Hello Year 8, this is your fourth science lesson of the week, so you should be doing this on Thursday or Friday, and this lesson is on variation. So grab your book, your pen, your ruler, and write the title, underline it, write the date, make it nice and neat, and then note down these key terms. The key terms we've got for this lesson are variation, species, environmental, inherited, and characteristic. Our lesson objectives today, we are going to state that there are different types of variation. We're going to describe how variation is caused by inherited and environmental factors, and we're going to explain the causes of variation. Once you've written all of that down, you don't need to write anything down for this next bit. I just want you to have a think. Have a look at the picture of the dogs and think to yourself, how are these dogs different and how are they the same? You would have done this when we looked at Astra and Daphne, and that should start giving you some clues about that, so have a little think. So you've had a look at the picture of the dogs, and the things that you might have noticed are they are different sizes. They're different heights, they're different weights, they're different colours, they've got different patterns. Some of them have got short hair, some of them have got long hair. They've got different shaped ears, different size ears, they've got different types of noses. There are so many differences in these dogs, even though all these dogs are actually the same species. They're just different breeds. So we've got a definition now about all these differences, and it is variation is the differences between the characteristics of living things. Write down that definition, that's going to be a really important one for today. So we've thought about some of the examples with the dogs, but now we're going to have a look at a different species, and this is our species. We are humans, and our species name is Homo sapiens. And it's your turn now. So I would like you to have a look at the picture along the bottom and write down as many different characteristics as you can see in this picture. I will give you one example, which is height. So I can see a lot of different heights in that picture. I want you to list as many differences as you can. Well done. Here are some of the differences that you could have thought of. We've got things like height, weight. You can see that there's a difference in hair colour, eye colour if you're looking really closely, skin colour, hair length, different hair lengths here. Some people have freckles. There are different sexes here, some female, some male, different nose shapes, different mouth shapes, and way, way more. Well done if you got any or all or even more of those. That is absolutely brilliant. So that is variation among a species. As human beings, there is a lot of different variation. We do not look the same as each other, and those are our variations. So now we're going to start thinking about how is this variation caused? Where does it come from? So think about yourself. What colour are your eyes? What colour is your skin? Where did that variation come from? Where did you get your eye colour from? Where did you get your skin colour from? Have a little think. If your answer was that you got your eye colour or your skin colour from your parents, then you are absolutely right. This is what's called genetic variation. So you will have heard the term genes and genetics, and that is variation that we've inherited from our parents. So in a lot of cases, people will have the same or similar eye colours with their parents, or the same or similar skin colours as their parents. Not all the time, because genes are a very, very complicated thing, and you could have parents that both have brown eyes, but you might have blue eyes. That can happen for reasons that we will look at in later videos. But some examples of variation that is only inherited from our parents are things like eye colour, skin colour, tongue rolling, like can you roll your tongue or can't you? Give it a go now. Can you roll your tongue? And lobed ears. So your earlobes are either attached very closely to your head or they dangle like a dangly earlobe. And that is genetic. You either have a lobed ear or you have what's called a lobeless ear. So feel your ears, see what you've got. That is an inherited characteristic. It's genetic variation. You've got that from your parents. This definition is another important one. So can you write down the definition, please, of genetic variation? It is characteristics that we have inherited from our parents. And to help yourself out as well, you could write down a few or all of those examples. Our second cause of variation is something called environmental variation. That's another important definition. It's up at the top there. Can you write it down? Variation caused by surroundings is called environmental variation. So, for example, things like having a sunburn. You cannot inherit a sunburn. If your parents get a sunburn, it does not mean that you are going to be born with a sunburn. It's something that you get from the environment. Same thing as scars, as not having enough nutrients and being malnourished, having a poor diet. That is going to affect you, but it is not something that is inherited. Things like languages, what language you speak, your accent, those are all things that are caused by the environment around you. So that is environmental variation. Make sure you write down the definition and write down some of those examples. All right, and now it is your turn. I would like you to get a ruler and a pencil, draw out a table as neatly as you can, please, with columns for environmental, genetic, and in the middle, you need to have a column that says both, because what you're going to do now is sort these characteristics you can see at the top into, are they environmental, are they genetic, are they inherited by parents, or are they both? So think really carefully about this, because some of them might be a bit of a mix of these factors. So can you sort, please, scars, accent, eye colour, height, fingerprints, tongue rolling, freckles, dimples, and weight? Think carefully, pause the video, because the answers are going to be on the next slide. Right, well done. How did you do? Under environmental, you should have scars and accent. Neither of those are inherited. They are only things that you can get from the environment around you. And be careful, because you might have the same accent as your parents, but it doesn't mean that you've inherited it in your genes. It's because you've grown up in that same environment. Genetic things only are eye colour. You can change these with contacts, but let's for now just stick with it being genetic. Fingerprints are inherited. Tongue rolling is only genetic, and dimples. Now, things that you could argue that could be both are height, which might seem like you've just inherited it from your parents, but think about what might cause someone to be taller or cause someone to be not as tall. Things like diet will make a difference here. Same thing with weight. There is a genetic component to weight, meaning that you can be predisposed. You can have a higher chance of being over or underweight, but the environment around you makes a difference as well. So that can be both. And we can put freckles in both as well. You might have put freckles in genetic. I'd accept that as correct too. But if you have got freckles, you might know that they come out in the sun a little bit more. So you inherit them from your parents, but the sun might make them a bit stronger. So see how you did? You could argue where some of these could go, but that is generally where we are going to put those. Okay, well done, Year 8. This is your last task of this lesson. And what you're going to be doing is making yourself a passport. Now, a passport's really important. It's got a lot of identifying information on there. And you're going to make yourself a passport all about your own variation. So on your passport, you need to have things like your name, your gender, what's your natural hair colour, what's your eye colour, are your earlobes attached or unattached, as you found out earlier? What's the length of your index finger? That's your first finger. You got freckles? How tall are you? How many scars? You've got to count them up. Can you roll your tongue? Give it a go again. Can you do it? What's the length of your arm span? Your arm span is if you stretch out your arms as far as they can go, as wide as they can go, and measure that. That is your arm span. What's your shoe size? Do you have a hitchhiker's thumb? That's another genetic thing, and the picture will show you what a hitchhiker's thumb looks like. It is much more bent back. And do you have a widow's peak? And the picture will show you what that looks like too. So have a little look. Write down your passport information, and you can write it down as a list, or I'd much prefer if you could make it look a bit interesting. Design yourself a passport. That's what passport normally looks like. Can you make yourselves a more interesting passport? Can you put a picture on there? There's one more thing that you have to do with this task, so keep listening. To finish off your passport, what you have to do is highlight the characteristics that you think are inherited in one colour and those that are environmental in another colour. So remember, things that you get from your parents, from your genes, are inherited, and things that you get from the environment around you are environmental. So 2 different colours, please. Highlight the characteristics that you think are inherited and environmental. And then your passport will be finished. I'd love to see what you come up with. Please feel free to send them in. We really, really love seeing your work, and I'd love to see these passports. And Year 8, that is it for today. Really, really well done. Let's run through the lesson objectives and made sure that we've met all of them. Have we stated that there are different types of variation? As we've seen, in dogs, humans, all other species, yes, there's loads of variation. Everything has different characteristics from everything else. Have we described how variation is caused by inherited and environmental factors? Yes, we have, and we've given some examples, and you should have written down the definition of genetic or inherited variation and environmental. And have we explained the causes of these? Yes, we have. So things like eye colour, we know, is inherited from your parents, and things like a suntan or a sunburn is from the environment around you. You've done absolutely brilliantly, Year 8. Well done. The last thing that I've got the absolute pleasure of doing is a shout out to all of those people. We can see you at home, we see you working hard. All these people here are here because they have either done beautiful, polite emails, they've been doing all the work, they've been chasing up tests, they've been making sure that they're logging in to show my homework. So people like Ethan, Erin, Oliver, James, Zoe, Alex, Charlie, Harley, Katie, Jasmine, Bradley, Brooklyn, we see you and you're doing a brilliant job. But if your name isn't on this list, I still know that you are doing an amazing job. We have seen you logging in to show my homework. All of you guys, I've seen you doing the spelling test, the quizzes, the test. You guys are amazing. You are doing such a fabulous job. We are so happy to receive work. So please, please, if you've got something you're proud of, send it in and we will feature it on our next shout out. Coming up next is just a highlight of some of the work that we've been sent in the last week. Some of you guys have already been featured on Mrs. Corbett's shout out on her Instagram, which is amazing. But this is just from the last week and I'd love to feature more. So keep sending in your work. You guys are stars.